Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today I want to share with you some book recommendations again. And the thing is that we have reached and passed the halfway point of the year, and maybe you have used that opportunity to check on some of your reading goals. Maybe you're a little bit behind the general reading goal, or maybe you have looked at your little diversity markers in your spreadsheets and you just realized you are falling behind on some of these goals. So today I wanted to recommend to you some novellas that might help to quickly catch up on some of these goals. Now, this is part of my Diversify Your Fantasy reading little series, so I have done other videos before that I will link down below. I have talked about fantasy books by female authors, by trans and non-binary authors, by Asian authors, and I've also done a video about kind of like standalone books. And today we're going to do the novella edition. And usually I recommend 8 books per video. However, because we're talking about novellas, I thought I'd give you double the amount because the books are short. I don't know if I will regret this, let's see, but yeah, let's talk about some amazing fantasy novellas that are out there ready for you to read. And we're going to start off with the king of fantasy novellas for me personally, and that is P. Djèlí Clark. And I have 4 different books to recommend to you by this author. The first one is A Dead Djinn in Cairo. This is a fantasy novella where you have a setting in Egypt in, I don't quite remember the time, like the early 1900s maybe. And it is a alternate history kind of a series that this book is the first book in, and then you have a short story, another novella, and then a full-length novel if you really want to get into the world. However, you can read this one as a standalone, as it is the investigation of this agency that has to do with like magical beings, and they have to solve a case. Then we have The Dead Cat Tail Assassins. I think this is the newest release on this list, and this is a novella where we have dead cat tail assassins. Basically, these people have passed away, but before they did, they made a deal with the goddess that they would serve her for a certain amount of time as assassins. And we have one of those people, and we're following her on a day when she is on a case, and the person she is supposed to murder is someone she recognizes. And that usually doesn't happen because when these people pass away, they lose all of their memories and then they kind of come back as these assassins. So she decides not to kill that person, but to figure out why she recognized them. Then we have Ring Shout. This is probably my favorite of the bunch. This is a standalone novella where we follow a group of black women who are hunting a monster called a Ku Klux. These are monsters that have infiltrated the Ku Klux Klan, and they are up to no good. This is more on the horror side of things, so be warned. Last but not least, we have Black God's Drum, and this one again is a standalone novella. And in this one, we follow a girl in this kind of steampunk world when she discovers something nefarious might be going on, and she tries to see what it is. Now, changing pace a little bit, but moving on to one of my favorite books of all time, I wanted to again shout out Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. I'm not quite sure if this was technically like still in the novella realm. I'm kind of choosing these by feeling more than page count, but this is a very short YA fantasy where we follow a girl, a trans girl, who is one day stumbling upon an artwork that her mother made, and this artwork comes to life, and it is Pet. And it tells her that there is a monster in her best friend's family, and they set out to find out who the monster is. Then we have Even Though I Knew the End by Polk. This book is amazing. In this one, we kind of have this like crime noir feeling, but it is a fantasy book where we follow a woman who made a deal with kind of like a devil, that she will give up her soul for something, and the time when she has to give up her soul is kind of like approaching now, but she gets a chance to extend the time before she has to give up her soul, when she solves the case of this like gruesome serial killer that's going around. Then we have a book I read very recently, and that is The Order of the Pure Moon Reflected in Water. This is a very interesting novella. It has this like Asian kind of legends feeling. This one deals with martial arts, and we meet a nun who is working as a waitress in a restaurant when a band of bandits comes into town, and it causes her to lose her job in a way. And so she decides to start traveling with the bandits, but she has secrets, the bandits have secrets, and one bandit in particular has a secret. And this one kind of felt like the beginning of a series, so I really hope at some point maybe the author will return to this and write more about these characters. Then we have a book that is like very similar in feeling to me. This is the start of a series, and that is Empress of Salt and Fortune. This is the first book in the Singing Hills series, where we have lots of novellas out, so going through this series might really help you with your reading goals, and I would highly recommend. So far I have read the first 3 and they were all great. In this first one we meet with a traveling cleric who is collecting stories for their monastery, and in this first one it is all about this empress. Changing pace again a little bit, we have I Who Have Never Known Men. This is a kind of dystopian, more speculative story. We follow a girl who is in a cage with 39 other women. They have been in this cage as long as she can remember. However, some of the women remember that they had a life before the cage, and at some point in the book, something happens and they can leave the cage and kind of try to figure out what is going on. Very different from that, again, we have the Cybernatic Tea Shop, which is a very small novella that is cozy sci-fi, and in this one we have 2 people who meet in this tea shop. One of those people is kind of an AI technician, and the other one is a type of kind of android that isn't really allowed anymore, it isn't really built anymore, and she's kind of like the last of her kind. Switching it up yet again, we have Upright Women Wanted. This one is a Western-inspired novella where we follow a girl who kind of signs up with these librarians who travel the lands to promote reading. Let's just say that. There's obviously more to that. This one is also very sapphic, and I just love the vibe of this one. Like, the Western vibe was really great. Then one that is super popular, but I'm just going to throw it in here. It is This Is How You Lose the Time War. This is kind of a speculative kind of sci-fi story about time traveling, where we have 2 agents on different sides of a war who are both like traveling through time and trying to tweak things so that their side in the future might win, and they start leaving each other letters. This one I feel like is a little bit underrated, and that is Yellow Jessamine. This one also leans more towards like a gothic-y horror side, and we have this fantasy world that is like very much like merchant kind of feeling, and we have this woman who is the only woman who kind of owns one of those, like, I don't want to say businesses, but like, you know what I mean. All around her, all the others are men, and so she is like the odd one out, the one who is a woman of power in this world, and it's about her finding a stranger. Then we have one that technically belongs to a bigger series, and that is the Greenbone Saga. But I think technically you can read this novella whether you've read the Greenbone Saga or not. This is a prequel novella where we follow like very different characters. It's called The Jade Setter of Janloon, and it took me quite a while to read this one, but when I finally did, I was completely blown away. In this one we follow someone someone who works with Jade, and in this world, Jade can give people like amazing powers. This is also very martial artsy, but in this novella, we focus more on that side of things and like special people who are not affected by Jade and so can work it into, yeah, like jewelry that can be worn and stuff. Another one that is very popular, but I didn't want to leave out, is the Murderbot series. So the first one would be All Systems Red. I think there's a TV show now. I haven't watched that, but because of that, there has been a little bit of hype around the series again. I don't know how many books are out now. Most of them are novellas. There are a couple of full-length novels, but again, I think with this one, you could really catch up to some of the goals very quickly if you start this series. And in this one, we follow kind of this, again, kind of AI robot, and they have hacked their like system. And so now they are kind of set loose and they enjoy watching bad reality TV, I think. And last but not least, going back a little bit to the horror side of things, we have What Moves the Dead. I couldn't do this video without mentioning it because T. Kingfisher is one of my favorite authors and I just need people to read her books. Again, this one is the start of a series, however, each one reads like a standalone, and I think the third book is going to come out quite soon. What Moves the Dead in particular is a The Fall of the House of Usher retelling, and we are following a soldier, Alex, and Alex is called back to the house of some friends because one of the people who live in the house is fallen sick. And yeah, Alex goes there to investigate what's going on. And that concludes my little list of potential novellas you could check out to catch up on some of your reading goals. I really hope this was interesting. Definitely let me know if you've read any of these, whether you've liked them, and then also whether you're interested in reading some of these now, because that would be the best thing. That would completely make my day if I inspired you to pick one of these up. So yeah. Looking forward to your comments. Also leave a like, that always helps me out. And I'll talk to you very soon. Bye!